Got the heaters pumping even though the engine was stone cold. Those small tasks accomplished, I walked between the bench seats with my head tucked so it didn't hit the roof. I'd made the mistake of walking upright my first week on the job only to have a loose rivet on the roof tear a nifty little groove in my scalp. I pulled the security pin from the rear emergency door and moved back up the aisle, slapping the seat backs to make sure they were secure. My fingertips brushed against a hardened wad of Windex-colored gum, the stuff Oliver had been chewing yesterday. We'd be having a little heart-to-heart about gum on the bus, young Master Oliver and I. I grabbed the broom from under the front seat and walked a circuit around the bus. I took a good swing at each tire to check the inflation, relishing the rubbery "bock" sound. I gave the muffler a stiff crack, too. Crouching down, I couldn't see any hoses or wires dangling from the undercarriage. I popped the side door, lowered the wheelchair lift, and raised it up again. It had been sticking a bit lately, but today it lifted smoothly. I cracked the emergency door, heard the buzz, and shut it. Checked the hazard lights, headlights, high beams, signal lights, fire extinguisher, first aid kit, thermal blankets, traffic triangles. I eyeballed the 7-way mirror system, the fisheyes, the riot mirror. Checked the windshield wipers and horn and emergency brake, the fan, the squelch button on the CB radio. Check, 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 check. All systems go, rock and roll. At 7:45, I pulled onto the road. The radio murmured. A few code yellows, a driver no-show in the north end. The wet streets shone in the new sunlight. I drove past schools and gas stations and a 7-Eleven, rolling with the tide of morning commuters. I pulled up to a stoplight beside a big school bus. The driver and I exchanged the customary school bus driver salute, one hand lifted halfway off the wheel, fingers outspread in casual greeting. The bus's automatic transmission dropped into second gear as it forged up a hill and slipped effortlessly into third as I crested it. The Rocky Mountains rose into air so blue and clear it held the sparkling effervescence of freshly poured seltzer. I pulled up beside a white-sided house. I angled the front tires into the curb, flicked on the hazards, and engaged the parking brake, then hopped out and snugged wooden blocks under the rear tires. The garage door rattled up. Calvin walked down a wooden ramp that connected the garage's inner door to the driveway. He waved and said, "He'll be out in a minute." I lowered the wheelchair ramp. Inside the house, through an open door, I could see Jake getting ready. His sister was brushing his hair. His caregiver was attempting unsuccessfully to coax him into eating another bite of toast. The door swung shut. When it opened again, Jake drove through the doorway and down the ramp. His wheelchair accelerated at breakneck speed and took a sharp corner poorly. Jake was a bad driver. It was something he'd freely admit. The front tires clipped the garage wall. "Oi!" Calvin called after him. "Careful, my son." "Craig!" the boy shouted, his face lit like a supernova. "You are never going to believe what happened." I smiled. Not because I wouldn't believe what he was about to tell me. Most often what he had to say was entirely reasonable, sometimes even mundane. I smiled because his enthusiasm kindled a giddiness in me, a soda pop fizz that started in my belly and percolated all through me. "So what's this amazing news?" I asked. The boy cast a glance over his shoulder at his father. His voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. "Tell you later." Ah, so it was to be a bus story. The bus was the confessional, the cone of silence, the chamber of shared confidences. After I got Jake on board, his wheelchair strapped down and his chest buckled in safely, he would tell me. He always did. The exact words he would use, in fact, would be, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. There's a story I should tell you before we get to this one. Before Jake and Oliver and Vincent and Gavin and Nadja. Before Bus 3077 and Route 412. Before my stories and those kids' stories became meshed. Summer. From The Seekers, an unpublished novel. My name is Bloodhound.